Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition 92.9 KVRE, online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. Alongside Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, it's March and the madness is already here from top to bottom, from high school to college to the pros, everything going in a big way right now. But this week we begin in our own backyard where there's a new head Nighthawk over at National Park College. NPC announcing this week a new athletic director, Jeremy Windsor, takes over with some big goals and some bright ambitions ahead for the program. Joining us on the show this week to talk all about it is Jeremy himself. Jeremy, first, welcome to National Park College. Welcome to Hot Springs. I know in this business, first impressions are a really big deal. Tell me your first impression of Hot Springs in NPC.
Absolutely place. Definitely the home to the probably most aesthetic looking junior college in the country. You just can't beat it. And there was no way that I could say no to taking this job.
Jeremy, you've spent 17 years in the business as a coach in administration. What experiences from your journey so far have prepared you best for this new role as athletic director?
I think, it's a combination of all 17 progressions in my career, from, assistant coach to head coach to, administrator to recruiting coordinator and overseeing budgets to working with enrollment services within institutions. Has really collectively, given me a lot of just invaluable experience that I'm looking to bring to National Park College.
Jeremy, tell us a little bit for the listeners who are just now getting to meet you over the air right now. Give us just a little bit of background of where you're from and families and stuff like that, because I guarantee you, I know a lot of folks around the region are going to be coming to want to shake your hand sooner or later.
Yeah, so I am from the great state of Louisiana. I hail from Ruston, Louisiana, born and raised. I'm a Ruston High graduate, Louisiana Tech University graduate. I have one daughter that is 6 years old, who's a very active human being. She definitely keeps me on my toes. And, I love my state, love my hometown. They're doing some great things and growing in some great ways over there. And then I could see us, taking some of those things that I've seen there and bringing them here and hopefully to expand that into the community.
And of course, there's no better time to join National Park College right now. Now, to be fair, this is an athletic program that is still, in some senses, in its infancy, still within its first 10 years as an athletic program, and it's done major things in that timeline. Of course, men's basketball, bringing home the national championship a couple years ago, and now big news this week, which we'll talk about more in the show this week. Nighthawk women's basketball has now punched its ticket to the national tournament for the first time in program history. Men's soccer has won 4 Region 2 championships in a row. Women's soccer has multiple banners as well. I mean, everywhere you look, there's success for this program. You couldn't be coming in at a better time. So what are some of your top priorities coming in your first year as athletic director at NPC?
Yeah, I would probably say, my number one top priority is, of course, first and foremost, serving our great student athletes and supporting our coaches. But beyond that, I really want to engage with our community. I want them to feel as excited as we are. I want them to feel like they're a part of it and that they played a piece in our success that we're having within our athletic department. And, I want to see NPC banners and flags, in every household, in every yard, and just really, really bringing us all together as a family.
And one thing for certain, here locally, Garland County represents several different high schools around the area, and of course, the quadrant of Arkansas, along with the other schools. Man, you're talking of schools that have won championships around the regions. You're going to have a tough time sorting some of those out. But what do? Do you just get boots on the ground right away and start going, shaking hands and meeting folks?
Yes, sir. That's the plan. I want to support our local high schools and all constituents within the community, just as I want them to support us. And that's going to start with us looking to give back a little bit more. To be active in the community, to helping where we can. If we can help out with some of these athletic programs, if we can give them some additional opportunities and mentor them. That those are some of the things that we want to do, and that starts with me getting out and shaking some hands and helping out where I can and sharing some of my 17 years of collegiate coaching experience myself. So I'm hoping that we can add some value there.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the idea of expanding the brand externally, but let's take it back inside campus. What kind of culture do you hope that NPC athletics will be known for under your leadership?
Really one that supports one another. I'm really looking at complete, total engagement. I know I spoke about wanting to engage the community and that being a big thing, but that starts inside of our own doors. I want us all supporting each other, athletic program to athletic program, coach to coach, athlete to athlete, and really, really seeing us truly stick together, like glue.
And I got news. When you were talking about that, the branding, that is something that's so important. I see in your background and such like that, coming in and having to rebuild and certain institutions and stuff. But that branding, that's huge, isn't it? When you're, right off the bat, trying to get NPC and the Nighthawks out and everybody, like you were saying, the flags, but branding the NPC, that's a huge commodity right there, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. We want people to know who we are. And when they see that Nighthawk, we want it to resonate with National Park, and we want it to ring loud and we want it to ring clear. And so the brand is important, and not just for us as athletics, but as an institution as a whole.
Jeremy, what are some of the challenges that you think that you in this program might anticipate in the year ahead, and maybe some of the plans to tackle some of those? I know that it's a tough question to ask. I know you're just in your first week in the new role, but, what are some of those ideas here, at the top of your head right now?
Yeah, anytime you're looking at an athletic program and department that's young in its infant stages as we are now, is sustainability. It's great that we've had some success early on, and now the biggest objective and probably one of the most difficult ones is continuing to replicate that. And not make it something that we lucked into, or that people may think that, like that was awesome that they did that one time. To start making it being a household thing, like, winning is what we do in all phases and aspects of National Park, athletics.
And one thing for certain, I like what you said earlier about this. Do you find it in your background with all the years? Do you find it tough with the student athletes as far as them coming into the program and, of course, building the athletic department, but also the academic standards? That's what NPC has, is a certain level of academic. Do you find that tough sometimes trying to juggle the two?
I think, when we work that into the athlete job description, to remind them that they're a student first, it makes it part of the job, So when we have them not identify solely as an athlete, but more so as a student, and that begins in our recruiting, that begins in that first conversation when our coaches are identifying student athletes and those potential students and those future Nighthawks. And then everything else kind of takes care of itself. It's no different, than someone who's been put in a box that's only 6 feet. Mm-hmm. Well, over the years and over decades, that they're not going to grow any bigger than 6 feet. So I'm looking to take the lid off of it, and focus on, the whole complete student athlete and taking a holistic approach and making sure everyone that's inside the athletic department understands their role and how to execute in that function.
Jeremy, we're super excited for your leadership coming in. Like we said, big things happening at NPC right now. The story continues, and it continues moving forward in such a positive direction, whether it's the history being made, the records being broken, the banners and the rings and all of the things. We can't wait to see what happens next for National Park College and Nighthawk Nation. I know that you're excited to get in and make a name for yourself and really help move this institution forward. Best of luck the rest of the way. We think the best is yet to come for Nighthawk Athletics.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, I got one last question, though, for you. Do you know the map to Hickory, North Carolina? Do you know where that is?
I do not. This would be a first time for me. But I'm really excited, and I can't wait to get out there and support our basketball team and these great ladies. I got to watch them via live stream, and they're a hard-working group that you can tell that they're all in for each other. And I think, only great things can happen for them as we move forward and prepare to take off to go to North Carolina.
Good luck to you once again. No doubt, man. Pretty cool, huh, Mark?
That's right. Jeremy Windsor, the new athletic director at National Park College. Big things happening over in Nighthawk Nation, and we can't wait to see what they do next. We have so much more to come on our show this week. We will keep it in Nighthawk Nation when we come back. Head coach Eddie Broughton Sr. of Nighthawk women's basketball is going to break down to the team's trip to the national tournament for the first time in program history. That's next. This is Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE, online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Big things happening in the land of the Nighthawks this week. National Park College Nighthawk women's basketball. It really feels like a continuation of a story that really began, you could even argue, 2 years ago. We've talked about it so much on this show, Tracy, where a new coaching staff comes in, NPC not really able to get off the ground. They cancel the season early. They go back to the drawing board, and they return in a big way. They win the Region 2 championship for the first time in program history last year, but they fall one win away from the national tournament. And it's that loss that really helped set up the stage for this season, set the narrative in motion for this season. And of course, not only did NPC repeat as Region 2 champions this year, they got that district championship game again this year, this time on their home floor. And if you had a chance to see it in person or watch the live stream, there was no doubt about it. NPC came to party. They had unfinished business. And now for the first time in program history, heading to the Division II women's basketball national tournament in Hickory, North Carolina. And who better to tell us more than the head coach of the Nighthawks himself, Coach Eddie Broughton Sr. Coach, what a ride. The marathon continues, as you say. What has this ride really been like for you this season?
It's been a beautiful ride, but during the ride, it was pretty. It was like an emotional roller coaster. We had ups, downs, and we had lowered and down. I don't know what's lowered and down, but it was way down there. These girls just kept, they kept fighting. They kept showing their resilience and just started figuring it out. And, things start clicking at the right time for us. And here we are, district champion. It's amazing.
Coach, I noticed as I was listening in on some of the plays that during the games that Mark was calling and stuff like that, man, different styles you represented with the girls, but the tenacity. What is up with that? How do you instill that in somebody? I mean, they were vicious out on the court. That was something special.
Yeah. It just carried over from last year. We identified ourselves as a super scrappy team that just loves to play defense. It carried over to this year's team. And that was expected. Bringing back 8 sophomores. So, we get the freshmen on board to buy in on our defensive ways. It's just it wasn't really difficult at all. Our biggest battle was within ourselves. We were, it was moments where a bit of selfishness. It was moments of uncertainty, like a lot of doubt, and for whatever reason. Like I said, it was just so much going on off the court, and that's the main. Really, that's crazy that can affect on the court. There's a lot of off the court issues that just rattles the team. It can mess up that chemistry. But once we, stop feeling sorry for ourselves and stop pointing fingers and everybody just looked in the mirror and like, hey, I got to do better. I mean, even as a coaching staff, I met with everyone. I said, hey, we got to stop this, pouting and feeling sorry for ourselves. Not only you, us as coaches too, because I found myself doing it too, just blaming everybody instead of just saying, hey, let me figure out how to put this together because, we still got a shot at this, And, it's crazy. I say all that. And we were sitting number 1 and number 2 the whole year, so, but, you would have felt like, honestly, it felt like we were, at 7th or 8th place, just by all the unnecessary stuff that was going on. So the fact that we could figure it out when I really was, losing a lot of hope, it just shows a lot with this. It just shows a lot with him, and it shows the maturity of the sophomores. And I loved watching the growth in that little small amount of time. These last 3 were incredible.
Coach, at the beginning of the season, we talked about what this season might look like and what it might become. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you confided in me. You said that there's a chance that we might actually start the season 0-10. I know that you built this schedule against top-tier Division I opponents because you wanted to make sure that these girls were battle-tested and ready for that moment when they got back to that district stage, to that the story changed, the narrative changed. They don't go home hanging their heads down like they did last season, wondering, man, what if we could have, we were so close. And I know that there were 2 losses this season that perhaps maybe weighed on you more than any of the others. Those were 2 losses to, let's face it, it's your rival, North Arkansas College. In the regular season, the Lady Pioneers take you down twice. The stage is set for the rematch in the Region 2 title game. This happens, by the way, on North Ark's home floor in Harrison. You guys turned the tables in the game that matters the most. How did you?
Mark, that was all part of the plan, give North Ark a lot of hope by letting them dominate it, the first 2. But no, I'm joking with that. North Ark, they were ready to, they wanted to tell those 2 games. And fortunately, they caught us when we were, throwing a pity party, and and they came in really, really high, and confident in that championship game. But what they didn't realize, we came in as ourselves. We finally revealed the real Nighthawks. This last 7 games we played, it was after North Ark on our home floor or on their floor when they beat us by like 20 or 21 points. That's when everything just changed. I think, it was embarrassing, just for the fact that we knew we were better than that. And we looked bad. We looked really bad that game. Probably our worst game all year, how we looked. And after that game, that's when I gave them, and it just clicked. And from that point on, we started prepping for the championship. Although we had 4 regular games left, we started prepping for the championship game. Our first game in the playoffs, we was not playing South Ark. We were playing North Ark at that moment, not to overlook South Ark, but that's how confident I was trying to, instill in our team. Like, no, we're going to be in a championship game, and we're going and they bought in. If you watch the game, see that they bought in all the way in. And we show we were the best team in the tournament. They can argue with me all you want, but if you watched our games and everyone else's games, we dominated that tournament, and that's what I wanted, and that's what they gave me. I couldn't be any more happy.
Coach, obviously you've been in the game long enough. You know that at this time of the year, the teams that are hot, they're rolling right now, and of course you've got one of those hot teams with this much of a I'm not going to say a bye, but extension right here between games when you guys are usually. How do you keep the girls, I guess, their level of consistency? How do you keep it up at that level until Monday?
I just try to keep everything the same. I don't try to overhype it. I don't try to, underestimate anything. I just keep we're practicing as we usually practice, still in the weight room, knocking out weights. So we're just trying to keep everything the same. Approach it as another big game. I don't have to, I don't have to convince anybody, the sense of this game. It's a national tournament. This is what we all wanted, us being the sophomores, and my assistant was here last year. This is what we all came back for. This is what we all wanted right here. So we got what we wanted, and I think we're going to take full advantage of this opportunity.
And of course, the team learned this week who they'll be playing and when they'll be playing. But before we jump into our national tournament discussion, I got to talk about just a couple of moments from the district championship game. Of course, this was in Missouri last year, 9 hours or so up to Trenton to take on North Central Missouri College. You get this game on your home court. It's the biggest game in the kettle in National Park College history. And look, I was there. It was likely the biggest crowd that we've ever seen, certainly the loudest crowd we had ever seen. And of course, it ends with you getting to climb that ladder and cut down the net in your home gymnasium. But just take us through the atmosphere of Saturday and not only what that meant to your girls to see that level of support, but what it really meant to help provide that little extra fuel that home court advantage sometimes provides.
It was insane. I came out when the girls were warming up. I come out and I'm like, the stands are kind of empty. I was kind of disappointed, and I'm not sure when the stands filled, but I feel like I blinked and people were standing on the wall. Once that ball went up, I could barely hear myself. It was a few foul calls. I couldn't even hear the whistle. I'm still yelling at them to go or something, and they're like, "It's a foul." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So it was insane. I mean, that's an environment you would want to play in every day. Incredible. And just being at home, just the fact that you don't have to travel is always an advantage. But as far as having a home crowd, I mean, we had a loud crowd, but Jefferson's crowd was loud too. So I think that what's made it even better. It just wasn't one-sided. They scored, their crowd erupts, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, and how many people they got here? And it was, where are all these people sitting? Because it seemed like it was like 10,000 people in there. It was fun. It was fun. I kept telling my girls that every time out. I don't say much, but when I went back to the huddle, I'm like, hey, this is fun. This is what we want to be in right here. And, they all obviously in there, still excited and they're pumped. And the crowd just fueled us. They fueled us. Every bucket we scored, every stop we got, you just hearing them cheer. Man, it's like it just gave us an extra boost. And I always say we're the most conditioned in the country. So giving us an extra where we already got the stamina is just, it's going to be an advantage for us.
Hey, Coach, and of course you've had a little bit of time, a little bit of a break. So obviously, the trip going there is going to take some time. Have you had enough time though to look at what Chattahoochee's all about and try to figure out that style? Or are you just going to sick your girls on them right from the get go?
Well, definitely going to sick them on them, but I did look a little bit. I haven't found much online, but we're all required to upload a game, so
right.
I will. Hopefully, they have it uploaded today, and I will take a look at that to see if anything changed from the game that I did see, which was about a month ago. They're a team that. They seem pretty similar to us as far as their defensive intent. They switch from this. They have a 1-1-3 zone. It looks like it's like, hey, we can beat this zone. It looks like it's a lot of open spots, but they're not running this zone for nothing. So I don't think it's going to be as open as I'm thinking. So trying to prepare for that. It's a little awkward, so we're going to have to adjust a little bit on our zone offense and stuff. But like I said, I haven't seen much, but we're just going to for sure do our same thing and try to make them adjust to us more than we have to adjust to them. So that's the plan going in.
Coach, what's the message to the girls? Of course, now you're turning your sights to North Carolina. You're hitting the road 12 hours one way, and it's the first time being at this stage under what will absolutely be the brightest lights in D2 women's basketball in junior college. So what's the message to the girls to get them primed and ready to go out and continue showing this country what Nighthawk basketball is all about?
I've just been preaching to them to enjoy every moment of this. This is not a thing that happens often. It's a rare occasion to go to the national tournament. And if you can make it to the national tournament often, then God bless you. It's a rare thing. The last time I've been to a national tournament, I was an assistant coach on the men's side back in 2016. So that kind of tells you that, or shows you that, it's not a place you go a lot, So I'm telling them to just enjoy and seize all the moments and just embrace everything. We'll continue to, and as I always tell them, right, this marathon is going to go as long as we want it to go. So, let's go out here, have a lot of fun, and let's shock the world.
NPC, the number 18 seed in the Division II National Tournament for women's basketball. National Park College takes on Chattahoochee Valley Community College Monday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Those games will be covered by the NJCAA Network online. Coach Eddie Broughton of Nighthawk women's basketball, congratulations on the region title and the district title and the net and the rings and all the things, and best of luck and safe travels on the way to North Carolina.
I appreciate it.
Hey, good luck, Coach. Not too bad, huh, Mark?
Not too bad. The marathon continues. The story continues to write itself. History for Hot Springs team Nighthawk women's basketball looking to make its mark on the national stage. We'll be right back. Stick with us. This is Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE with Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. We keep it on the basketball court this Saturday, where 4 games remain in the Arkansas Activities Association High School State Championship games. Today, we'll see the 5A girls and boys, the 6A girls and boys. First thing up at noon today in 5A girls action, Farmington and Mountain Home. At 1:45 today, 5A boys with Little Rock Parkview and Marion. Tonight, 6A girls, Springdale Harbor and North Little Rock. And the nightcap tonight at 7:45, 6A boys, Little Rock Central and Bryant. High School State Championship week is always a huge week here in the month of March. But Tracy, the story this week isn't necessarily just on the champions and the trophies being lifted. It's actually going back to controversy from a week ago, where at Poen High School in the Class 2A state semifinals, Barton and England became entangled in a last-second brawl in the game, which has some major implications going forward, not only for those two participating schools, but for the fans involved as well, and potentially for the future of their basketball programs as well. It's been one of the most talked about stories in Arkansas and across the country, unfortunately, all week, sparking outrage, debate, and calls for tougher consequences. So here's the scoop. Barton and England, these two teams kind of see themselves as rivals. There's been some bad blood between these two schools throughout the season. This is not the first time that we've seen these two squads erupt in fights during sporting events. In the game, Barton led by 1 point, 52-51. As the final seconds tick down, a late foul is called. As time expires, Barton fans rush the court in celebration because they believe that they've just moved on to the Class 2A title game. It appears that a player from England throws a punch. It triggers a bench-clearing fight that spills into the stands and involves a large number of players and spectators, and it leaves the Arkansas Activities Association, the AAA, in a very difficult position going forward because there's rules in place about leaving the bench, going on the floor, obviously physical altercations, and you don't have to connect. You just have to throw one, right? So like there are very specific rules and what happens as a result of those. But now this happening, literally determining the fate of one of these teams, in this case, Barton, who has just won this basketball game and has rightfully earned its spot in the Class 2A title game. But now, the chaos, absolute chaos. I know you've seen the video. Everybody's seen the video at this point, and a lot of calls this week asking what's my take on this situation. I'm embarrassed for one. I'm just embarrassed because it's negative publicity for our state. It's negative publicity for Poen High School, which did not engage in this fight. They simply just hosted the location of the tournament in beautiful facilities over there in Grant County. But a lot to come from this here, because there were calls initially for, should Barton not be allowed to play in the title game because of this? Should Mount Vernon Enola, the other team that was awaiting the winner on in the championship game, should they just be awarded the title game? What kind of hard stance do you want to take if you're the Arkansas Activities Association? Now, the AAA has come out this week. Of course, at this point, the 2A championship game is already over, but how this was handled, really want to get your thoughts on this. AAA comes out this week. They have formally ejected 7 players from the England side, 5 players from the Barton side, which means that you can't play in your next game, which meant those 5 could not play in this state championship game. For England, it really kind of feels like a slap on the wrist because, okay, fine. How many of these 7 are seniors who have already played their final game? So an ejection doesn't really hurt them at all. Or that ejection would be served if they were underclassmen, juniors that'll become seniors, what have you. They would have to sit out the first game of next season. By rule, they'd have to miss a game. It doesn't feel like it carries the same amount of weight because you've got one school that has players that literally have to sit out during the state championship game. The other school will have which by all accounts instigated the whole thing, will have players that have to sit out a throwaway game 1 of the next regular season. Let's be honest. So it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel appropriate. And given the history of these two squads and the feud and the brawls and the bad blood, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't feel like it's doing enough to make sure this actually doesn't happen again. Your thoughts?
Mark, and just same as you, I've had calls all week, but everything around this, absolutely. You and I have called enough to where we've seen it. We've seen it, and I'm not going to point. I'm sort of looking in that direction with the AAA. I'll be honest. The referees, they don't have enough support for. All right, as many games as played throughout the year, whether it's basketball or football, there's so many games going. It's hard to conduct limited amount of officials, and I say that. Do they have enough? They have enough credential, and that's something that you and I see the years. Sometimes the official, it's what it is. Sometimes but then you throw it in together with really always had controversy. And so without all that said and done, this particular game was set up. I mean, you already said there was bad blood. The possibility, should there have been more officials, knowing was there enough referees?
So you think coming down to refereeing and officials?
Yes.
Now, generally, when a game goes final, officials walk off the floor, their job is done. The job that they've been paid to do is done. And they don't get involved with anything that happens after the fact. And how many games have you been at, I've been at, our listeners been at, where there's a parent that comes and wants to say something to the officials or whatever, in a heated battle like this, where literally someone's season has just come to an end and there's going to be emotions riding really high. I might take it a step further and say, okay, well, we knew this matchup was happening.
Yes,
we knew this matchup it's happening on a neutral floor, away from either of these two teams' home environments. Was there enough security at this game?
That's what I'm saying. They had already had bad blood previously in the games prior to this.
Yes,
right?
Well documented.
And not only that, in football too, though.
Yes.
This is not only on the court, this is also on the field. This was well documented, like you're saying, going back to last fall, going back to years ago. These are two rivals that have been in heated, not only discussions, but altercations. And it says right there in the rules, any advancement towards another player in that money is going to be is subject to disqualification. It says it straight in there. What is the level of that, and why wasn't there more? And I realize that
Class 2A.
And it's tough, as far as hiring the right amount of security and whatever. I was talking to my brother-in-law. He's over at Bryant coaching, and even there, he said at that level, he says it's super tough on the host team because they have to hire
more
people
security
outside of their own realm, what they're used to. Yeah. But they go to that next level, so it doesn't. Was there enough there? We don't know. I'm sure that's going to be brought up in everybody out there.
I mean, according to the video, it doesn't feel that way. Now,
I never saw a security guard in the video. Did you?
No, but I did see state troopers present. I did see Grant County Sheriff's Department present. And here's the deal. I've seen a lot of social media comments, and look, there's video, and you can make your own opinions about what law enforcement did or did not do in this case. But you also have to make the understanding, or I'm of the opinion of what can one guy do? What can two guys do? When you look at the video and you see the absolute pandemonium that erupted at Poen High School, what are two people going to do?
Well, you're exactly right.
Because to be fair, their personal safety, I know it's their job to serve and protect, but their personal safety is also at risk in that moment. We're very thankful that no one lost their life.
Well, let's go backwards. We knew what could happen as it was developing, okay?
Yes.
What did they do at a football game at any level prior to the end of the game? They line the field.
That's exactly right. Okay. That's exactly right.
Knowing what, normally the sheriffs, they may see a city official,
sure,
and then the hired ones they hire, which are normally city officials or they hire off duty. You didn't see that right there, the lining of the court. I don't know. I didn't hear audio on it. They announce anybody get in the court. That kind of. There's certain things.
Even if they did, even if a public, we've seen public address announcements. Even if they tried. You've been in those loud gymnasiums. I mean, yes.
Well, Coach just said it a while ago how loud it was.
Should it have happened? Yes. In the videos I watch, it's too difficult to hear. There's so many factors.
Well, yeah.
Who's recording, what they're recording on, the moment that they're recording, maybe they're catching moments after that was already attempted. What I do have to say, though, legally, the Grant County Sheriff's Department, which is Grant County's where Poen is located,
correct,
has opened a criminal investigation into the incident. That is ongoing. And they did say that they will be pursuing criminal charges against parties involved because you have minors involved.
Correct.
You have adults involved because there's fans in the stands that are throwing punches, kids, minor children throwing punches. Barton is making the argument that they started we're trying to defend ourselves because we were under attack. And allegedly, Barton High School is also coming out and saying, hey, guess what? We went to the AAA before this game, and we requested this game to occur with 0 fans. If that is a true story, which I don't know if it is at this moment, but that is what has been said this week, and the AAA said, no, we're good. We've got this covered. We make sure that everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. That's a pretty bad look for the AAA.
Now, if that comes out after it's all said and done in the wash and all the facts are brought in, because right now everything's alleged, statement so many times alleged that right now, but once the facts are in the wash, it's the truth. Again, you and I have talked letting the game get away and the officials. And you're right, there are only bodies. When you have the charge that happened that night, I'm going to tell you what, you're right. It's tough. Only one man can do so much.
I mean, that's right.
And you're right. After that officiating, after that game's over, his clock just rang. He's done.
Yeah. So to me, it's not up to the officials to stop. Now, the officials might be able to help get things under control during the game. So was this a slow burner, a snowball that turned into an avalanche? Yes. Yes. So who is at fault? Potentially everybody is at fault. Differing levels of accountability and responsibility here. Here's my question for you. So the game happens. Right. So the game happens. Barton rightfully wins the game. They go on, they play Mount Vernon and Nola.
And they had kids suspended too, though.
They did. They had the 5 that were ejected and could not play. Barton. So was this an adequate enough punishment? Should this game have even happened? I'm talking about the championship game. Should the championship game have even happened? should maybe Mount Vernon and Enola just been crowned the winner. I know it takes away that moment. It doesn't feel super great. Happened back in COVID also, when COVID shut everything down and the 6A champions, I believe it was Little Rock Central and Conway. They were just awarded the championship. They didn't get the game. They were co-champions. They took that game in that moment away. The fact that the game continues, am I wrong? Does it feel like the AAA needed to make sure that one extra game happened because admission and gate and money? Tell me I'm wrong, right? But the 2A game still happens. The AAA is still going to make money off of this. Was this the right move?
No, in my opinion, but no. And of course, you can't blame everybody.
It wasn't everybody's. Okay.
It wasn't everybody. And of course, the ones that weren't involved in it, they were robbed of, if they didn't go, they would be robbed of a shoulda, coulda, woulda.
And maybe this was what was discussed when trying to,
There you go.
Look, I will.
We're behind the scenes. We don't know everything, obviously.
And I will admit this. If I am an employee of the AAA, this is probably the worst week ever, because what a decision. And no matter what decision you do make, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Mark, it's lonely. And whoever's decision, once again, the facts are all brought out.
And then going forward, what happens next, to England, it really feels like a slap on the wrist. This is not the first occurrence here. There was maybe some public outcry. There's, of course, the court of public opinion on Facebook right now.
Everything.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But as an athletic association, as the AAA, what do you do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Do you penalize these programs? Do you?
Yes.
Is it simply probation? Is it you take away postseason eligibility for a year? Do you do? I don't want to say death penalty, because you don't know what death penalty means without context. So SMU, right, in college football, where they got stripped of everything. The
USC.
The harshest of penalties, essentially shutting down the program for an amount of time. What is the right answer?
We'll bring this back up. You can't penalize that their time is. You can't do. I mean, they had nothing as far as the program, but you do penalize involved. A long, hard look, and you take a look at the really detrimental situation, and then you make the ruling. Wait until the facts come out, and by then on what
this one is certainly far from over.
We'll have more about this.
Criminal investigations, criminal charges certainly on their way, and potentially leadership changes at both involved. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment. Stick with us on 92.9 KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE. Tracy, big story out of the NBA on Tuesday night. Bam Adebayo of Miami Heat fame does something that hasn't been done in a very long time in the NBA. He scored 83 points in a contest, setting league marks for free throws made and attempted in a game as Miami took down Washington 150-129. It is the second highest scoring game for a player ever, only second to Wilt Chamberlain and his famed 100-point game, but most notably passing the late, great Kobe Bryant, who was number 2 with an 81-point game. Adebayo started the game with a 31-point first quarter, had 43 at halftime, 62 by the end of the third, and then came the fourth quarter when the milestones kept falling despite the Wizards, and this is true, putting double and triple teams on him, and at least once in the game would appear to be a quadruple team on him that kept sending him to the foul line. So 83 points in a game. I believe it was 40 of those coming from the free throw line. Insane numbers out there. But now in the record books there, the second highest point total ever in NBA history, passing Kobe Bryant. It has social media, once again, seems like it's the theme of the show this week, a little bit in an uproar because the Washington Wizards, no bones about it, they're the worst team in the NBA. So is this beating up on the low man on the totem pole to do a little bit of stat padding and maybe some clout chasing? Or are we looking at this too much with a fine-tooth comb? And look, if you're hot, you're hot. If you have a chance to go for the record, no matter who your opponent is, at the end of the day, Washington is still an NBA team. You go for it.
No doubt. I mean, sure enough, I mean, this is something that's going down in the books that'll be there forever and well-deserving. I mean, he was hot. It's just that simple. You keep dishing the rock to him. That's just basketball 101 right there. And sure enough, if they couldn't defend him, hey, look, they're still that's the bottom line. They're expected to go out there and do their job. And obviously, they weren't very well equipped. And being the low man on the totem pole or low men, look, it is what it is. You're not going to quit. You're out there to perform. And I guarantee you the fans were loving it. You don't think that they weren't counting every time that he threw the rock up? You better believe it.
Hey, Miami Heat has had some great history and some big players. I mean, from Shaq to D. Wade to Chris Bosh to LeBron, Lonzo Mourning. Yeah. So, this is a career-defining move for Bam Adebayo, who is a great NBA player, but he's known for his defense. He's known for being a big man. So for him to score he's not known as a prolific scorer. So to drop 83 in a game is a really big deal. And I was thinking about this on the drive in because I was like, man, what an interesting way to combat tanking operation. We talk about tanking in professional sports, seems like almost every week on this show. And Washington obviously is tanking to try to get the number 1 overall draft pick. They're trying to improve their odds, trying to rebuild the program. But what an interesting argument against a team that is tanking, and to maybe add a little bit of embarrassment to that as well, to not to the players, but to send a message to their leadership saying, hey, you're going to tank, we're going to make you pay for it here. We're not only is history going to remember you, they're going to remember you because you just gave up. I say a record, it's crazy. Wilt Chamberlain's 100 in a game may never be broken in the current generation or the forward generation of the NBA because of how big that was, because now we're celebrating this. Even though it's only number 2 on the list, we're celebrating it like it's the greatest of all time because we know Wilt Chamberlain's 100 is untouchable.
Mark, I know this, and this is, of course, social to me. Who did Wilt Chamberlain? What team?
It's before my time.
Doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
Remember that? Will they remember that? Without social media, will they remember that?
Okay, fair. Because I don't know off the top of the dome.
There you go.
No, I know Kobe did it against the Raptors.
Right.
I know Bam did it against the Wizards, but that's as far as I know.
They're going to remember what he accomplished. They're not going to beat him because, once again, they're going. And if you watch the video, they were trying to defend the guy. Seriously. I mean, they were hacking the heck out of him.
They were, and that's why he had 57,000 free throws.
So, you know what? I mean, down the road, this will all be non-forgotten. Congratulations. It's something. 3 books. When it comes along, I don't think.
Well, I don't know because I watched the post-game interview with him after, and he was like, "Look, Kobe was my idol growing up. I never got the chance to meet him. So to me, it was a moment that I had to take the moment. That's
congratulations to Jesselville Senior Tristan Rogers. How about that? Crowley College, keep running, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be with Crowder College in Neosho, Missouri. Great chance for him to continue doing what he loves. Cross-country runner for the Lions, ranked the 3rd best runner in Class 3A during the regular season, and congratulations to him. That's our show, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on 92.9 KVRE.
Game over.